Hey, what's up everyone, and welcome to another video. And of course, this Friday sees the release of my boy Spider-Man on PlayStation 4. We've been waiting since 2016. Sony's E3 2016 press conference had the reveal of Death Stranding, God of War, Crash Trilogy, Resident Evil 7. We saw Days Gone. Oh my gosh, so many things. Last Guardian release date. So many things. So many things. But one that really stood above a lot of the rest. I would say most people would say this is easily like top 3 announcements for that press conference was Spider-Man. And now we're finally getting the game. It looks great. Insomniac, great studio. I can't wait to play it. But what I thought would be kind of fun is doing a top 5 best Spider-Man games pre-Spider-Man on PS4, because of course I haven't played it yet. So I thought it'd be kind of fun because really, even if this game is great, which I'm sure it will be, I mean, we've had great Spider-Man games before. It's not like this would be a rarity. Like, we've had great ones. So many that I would say I can easily list 5 that I've played. You know, I haven't played every Spider-Man game, but I could say 5 games that are either good or great. So let's get to it. Top 5 Spider-Man games. Let's start with number 5. My number 5 has to go to The Amazing Spider-Man 1 on the Xbox 360, which of course is based on the movie that of course had a sequel, and the game had a sequel, and we won't be talking about that one because that one is crappy. But Beanox did a really good job on their first attempt with The Amazing Spider-Man, because this game was fun. It had a really good web slinging mechanic. The combat itself was Arkham Asylum-esque. It wasn't exactly the same, but it was smooth, it was fluid, it was fun. Sure, the game did get repetitive, but I actually appreciated that the game didn't focus on the story of the movie, where it was, of course, the origin story yet again. I thought it was really cool that it was its own thing. We got to see a lot of characters in the Spider-Man universe, villains and heroes and whatnot, and I really enjoyed the story, and I really loved the web swinging. I thought you got a real good sense of speed and height whenever you're swinging around, and I liked it. Graphically, too, it was actually really good for 2012, so I actually recommend this one if you have not played it. It's fun, just don't play the sequel. The sequel sucks. Number 4 has to go to Ultimate Spider-Man, which I remember when this game came out, everybody was hyped up about it, mainly because Spider-Man 2 was so great, and this was the next one, and it looked visually gorgeous. It had that cel-shaded look that looked like the comics, and how even the story itself was like told in comic book panels at times, and I remember just being so excited, just like everybody else. When I got it, I was a little disappointed, but I remember really enjoying it. The combat was a lot of fun, the web swinging was great, the look of the game is still probably my favorite looking Spider-Man game until, of course, the PS4 game that's coming out. I'm sure that's going to be the best looking one. But when it comes to just the visuals, I love cel shading, and this one nailed it. It really did. And I love the comic book look, and I just really liked all the different characters. I remember the story being so much fun. It was a great game. It really was. Now, my main problem with it, and I haven't played in a long time, but I do remember the game being extremely frustrating at times, especially when it comes to its bosses. But besides that, it was a really fun game, and I definitely recommend it if you are a big Spider-Man fan. So there you go. Number 4 is Ultimate Spider-Man. Number 3 has to go to Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, which I believe was Beanox's first attempt at a Spider-Man game, and oh boy, did they nail it. Beanox, for their first attempt, did the right thing, and they didn't do open world. They decided to do a linear game, but not only linear, but actually change up the Spider-Man formula a little bit by adding a bunch of different Spider-Men. You had the film noir one, you had the future one, and then you had, of course, the regular one, and it was just a lot of fun. The differences in all their like gameplay and visual style. I love the noir one because you had to be stealthy, and it was in black and white and stuff. Getting to see all these different villains and stuff interact with Spider-Man, and it was a really great experience, actually. I really enjoyed this one, and it was actually, I think, the first time I ever saw Deadpool in a video game. So there you go, if that helps. So yeah, Beanox knocked it out of the park for their first attempt, and then it started getting a little wobbly. They came back with Amazing Spider-Man, then dropped the ball with Amazing Spider-Man 2, and I think Beanox is pretty much done with Spider-Man. And I don't even know if they're still around as a company, but hopefully they are, because they are talented for the most part. You go play Shattered Dimensions and see that for yourself. Number 2 is fittingly Spider-Man 2, which of course was based on the movie of the same name, which was also great and is still a really fun Spider-Man film. Maybe even my favorite Spider-Man film still, even though Homecoming is really great. And the first one is really fun too, Spider-Man 1. But the game is excellent. At the time, it was the best superhero game of all, like, just pretty much ever at that point. Like, it was just like so great. Of course, you know, we had Arkham and a few other games that have surpassed it, and of course I still have number one, which I'll talk about in a second, that I think is better than Spider-Man 2 personally, and I think it's a tad bit underrated, but we'll talk about that in a second. But this game was truly phenomenal for its time. It sat pretty right next to Chronicles of Riddick as the two best examples of movie-based games on the Xbox, and it was so much fun, this game. It was an open world game, which is, I believe, the first time Spider-Man was open world, and you could just go everywhere. You could save that damn balloon for that kid. My balloon! Remember that? That was annoying. And just being able to climb up buildings and just swing around, it was such a great experience, especially since they nailed it, man. For 2004, it was so much fun being able to just swing around. You didn't even need to do anything. You didn't even need to do any side missions or save the balloon or do the story mission. You could just literally for hours swing around New York City, and it would be awesome. It would be so good. So when it gets right down to it, Spider-Man 2 was the best superhero game of its time, and it was a great experience to just be able to swing around as Spider-Man. But of course, my number one is not Spider-Man 2. My number one is a different game in the Spider-Man universe, and a game that I don't think a lot of people really give too much credit to, and I think that's a shame. I really do think so. My number one is Spider-Man Web of Shadows. Now, I know a lot of people didn't really care for this game when it first came out, especially critics, but let me just tell you, I loved this game when it first came out. Has it aged well? I'm not exactly sure. I haven't played it in a long time, so take this for a grain of salt. I haven't played a lot of these games in a little while, but I'm telling you, from my first experience, from my first impressions when I first played them, and I beat all these games, let me tell you right here, this game was so much fun. First of all, the combat itself was the best for Spider-Man, until Amazing Spider-Man, I will say, but it was great for its time. It was like 2008 when it came out. It was great. It actually had a little bit like God of War to it at times, where you have like the spider whip things going on. I remember that. That was a lot of fun. I thought the swinging was great. All that stuff was excellent. But what I really loved is the story of this. First of all, I believe it was an original story. I don't think it was based on a story from a comic, so that was really cool. But I really loved that it was very dark. It didn't screw around. It was an extremely dark story where you can actually pick different sides and stuff. I remember you had like good ending and bad ending, and there was a ton of different characters in Spider-Man lore, and the dialogue was great, and the voice acting was fantastic, and I really enjoyed the story, and I just really liked this game overall, and it is my favorite Spider-Man game. But again, you have to take that with a grain of salt, because I have not played it in a very long time, so excuse me if I play this game like tomorrow and I'm just like, oh god. But this is all from first impressions, so I apologize. I just don't have the time to play a bunch of different Spider-Man games to make a video like this. I just want to give you my opinions on when I first played these games, and this game was the best, and I think it's still the best until, of course, Friday, which I can assure you will be dethroned with the amazing looking Spider-Man. Not Amazing Spider-Man, but the amazing looking Spider-Man on PlayStation 4, and I'm so excited. So thank you for watching the video, and please in the comments tell me what your favorite Spider-Man game is. I know I already did a poll in my community section asking this, but go into detail. Tell me why it is your favorite Spider-Man game. I would love to know. So anyway, there you go. Thank you. Until next time, of course, goodbye.